All right, welcome back everyone to another edition of Talk 122 with your superintendent. I'm Dr. Terrell Yarbrough, and with me I have a very important person that I think everyone is going to want to know about and tune into. So I'm going to start with you giving your name, and then we'll kind of go from there, and your position in district.
Sure. My name is Jennifer Wagner,
Okay.
and I work at the administration building, and I'm the administrative assistant to the director of food service.
All right, and so that just teed up where we're going to go with all of this, because what I've learned is that as soon as people find out, that you work in food service, right, and that you have, a little bit of say in kind of what goes on there, then kids perk up, staff perk up, because believe it or not, everyone loves to eat. I know I love to eat, and so I'm not putting you on the spot or not trying to make you nervous or anything like that. You got quite a bit of history in the Harlem School District. So can you talk about, I think your kids attended Harlem.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. My son was in the class of 2016, and my daughter was in 2019.
Okay.
Both played soccer for the district.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So that means
I've been a parent, a Harlem parent.
Harlem
since
parent through
Parker
and through.
Center through 12th grade for both my kids.
And so when you think of your kids and their thoughts of food and food service, what would you say they would say their experience of having school lunches would be?
They didn't like the lunch lines.
They didn't like the lunch lines, okay?
And the wait, and there wasn't enough time for them to eat.
Okay. And so in your position and what you do, how did you work through some of that? Or how would you say it is now?
I think now the fun food's starting to come back because the fun food was taken away.
Okay.
So we're getting more kids through the line. My director, Jamie, she's done some positive changes, and the kids are more vocal, and they'll email my director with ideas. Or we were just talking to a student this afternoon, and he came forward and gave some opinions. So it's nice to hear.
Okay, so there's a way for kids to get in contact, with you and share their concerns or what they're thinking.
Right.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
Yep.
And so describe that process a little bit, just for the kids that are watching this, and I'll be like, okay, now I want to do some suggestions and things like that. Describe that process. It could be a simple email, right?
It could be an email, but the manager and the assistant manager at the high school, Teresa and Karen, they're very open. They would love to have the kids give feedback. Even the lunch register staff, voice it up. If you don't like something, let us know.
Okay.
We won't know unless it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Yeah, the kids are getting more vocal, I think.
I love it.
Yeah.
And so answer me this. So obviously, we're in school, right? And a lot of school is going through school, getting educated, things like that, going to your classes, learning, all that good stuff. So what is the correlation with food in school, in your opinion?
There are still a lot of students that this is their only meals through the day, during the week.
Yeah. Because I don't know how you are, but if I haven't eaten
they
yet,
want to be hungry. They're
at
crabby.
some point,
yeah.
Absolutely.
So I know that eating is important for the kids.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because if you're sitting in class and you're hungry, it's kind of hard to concentrate. And so, being able to have a good meal, whether it's breakfast or lunch, I think is very important.
Right.
So that's awesome.
Yeah.
So now when you're thinking of, the lunch, and I hate to say lunch ladies, but our staff, right? Our lunch staff and the job that they do, right? I was thinking about this just earlier today, how, especially when I was the high school principal here, and I would see how students would go through the lines, and they would, smile and laugh and joke, and things of that nature, and sometimes building relationships with the individuals who are, serving the food and things like that. And so describe that relationship a little bit, with students who they may be struggling that day, and then they get in line and they see their favorite person and they're having that conversation.
Yeah. The staff loves to interact with the kids. So I hope the kids know that they can just have a conversation and not to be timid by the girls or the guys that work with us.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So let's have a little fun with you
Have
a little
fun.
bit.
Because you'll get fun
this
from
part,
the staff.
This part goes.
Yep. Yep.
So with you and particularly in your role, because I've seen you, do professional development, for the staff,
Mm-hmm.
and you guys have fun T-shirts and things like that. When you're designing those or you're having those T-shirts made for everyone, describe how you pick and choose that, for the staff.
Well, I pick it if I'm going to wear it or not, because I don't like some of the old ways the uniforms were when I first came.
Okay.
It's improved over the years. But the staff loves to have color.
Okay.
So I'm
Yeah.
glad that the color is back. A more relaxed atmosphere is for the staff. Jamie has allowed the staff to wear jeans where they couldn't before.
Right.
The slip-resistant shoes, the slip-resistant shoes, it's not the boring black or white.
Okay.
She's allowed the fun colors to
Right.
come back, So just with those short little changes with the staff, it's improved the
Okay.
morale
Gotcha.
in our kitchens.
Awesome. So if you if you could say, something that you think your staff would want you to say, for the community to know, for the student body to know, just about, school lunches and things like that, what would you say?
They like what they do. That's
Okay.
why they're here. They don't get paid a lot, which, it's just 5 hours is most of the 5.5 hours is the length majority of our coworkers work. But they like what they do. That's why they stick around.
Right.
I mean, we have staff that's been here for almost 30 years.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
it works for their family life with raising kids. And if their kids are through Harlem District, it's the same schedule for the home. When the kids are off, mom and dads are off.
Yeah.
So it's a neat thing to know that coworkers have been here so long because they like what they do.
Absolutely, and that's good. And my relationship, because I've been in Harlem since 2009, and I'll tell you some of my favorite people, have worked in the lunch lines, and it's just something about them knowing you,
Yes.
or at least me, in the sense that it's been a long day, and Mr. Yarbrough, I got a bacon sandwich for you. I'm like, what? Bacon
Yep.
sandwich?
Yep.
Like, yeah. But that's cool. And
Yeah.
it's just those little things. And so I really appreciate, the job that you do, with them and working with them in your capacity as
Yeah.
well. And so because you've watched this, I know you know this question is coming. Who's your favorite person in the district?
I'm probably going to say there's two of them.
Okay. All right, we'll give you two.
Probably Susie Rogers and Robin Chandler.
Okay.
They're coworkers at the administration building.
Awesome.
They're just good humans.
Yeah. And I will say, after, in the 4 years that we've been doing these, I don't think I've ever heard those two names. And
Yeah.
so that's
They're
cool.
the
that they
behind the
get a shout
scenes
out.
people.
Yeah.
They're just good people.
Right. And I love the, just good humans. Good people.
humans.
And they are. And I've met them as well. And I really don't have my phone out during these, but I'm going to have it out just for this reason. I was at Maple earlier today, and I was, helping out with the school store. And usually the little kids don't know me.
Who you
right?
are.
They don't know who I am. They don't know my name or anything like that. And so I go and get the young man, and he says, "Hey, Dr. Yarbrough," and I'm like, "Whoa!"
Aw.
And he says, "I watch Talk 122," and so I want to give him a shout out. And his name is Aram Kelly.
Okay.
And so if you could say something to Aram Kelly, who may be watching this episode and maybe going through the lunch line at
Yep.
some point, what would you like to say to him?
Keep using your voice.
Yeah,
Reach out to people.
yeah,
Meet people. Say hi to people.
absolutely.
Good for him.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, that made me feel good,
Yep.
and obviously for him to actually watch what we do here, and now be able to watch this episode too,
Right.
and learn about you all is great. So
Cool.
thank you.
Alrighty.
All right.
Okay.
All right, welcome back to part 2 of our foods edition here. with me, and I'm going to have you introduce yourself, to the audience, because you are newer to the district. I mean, you know Harlem. You've been around, our area for a long time. But obviously, in this role, this is a new role, for you coming in. But can you introduce yourself and tell them a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So my name is Jamie Carollo. I am the food service director here for the district. Back in 2000 and I keep forgetting, 2018, I was actually the manager of the kitchen at the middle school. Okay. Then I left to be director elsewhere, and then now I'm back here. Okay. Where I belong.
We didn't hold that against you either when you left.
I know you didn't, and it's very
back.
appreciative. Thank you.
and so we're happy to have you. And your daughter is behind the scenes right now too, right?
She is. She's watching. Yes, it's kind of
okay. So we're gonna see how if you can keep your attention, and if she's gonna mess with you and you respond.
No, she's over there. Yeah, she's judging over there. I know she is.
All right. And so with you obviously coming, right, and what I liked about you coming over is just your enthusiasm and the ideas that you had, right, and you wanted to implement. And so you've implemented quite a few new changes to the menu and procedures and things like that. So kind of let's start with the menu. Some things that you've implemented and you've brought over, to Harlem that is really like taken off,
So one of the things that just drove me absolutely insane was that we kind of had the same menu for our elementary and our middle school. So one of the things that I needed to fix right away. So what we did. So now our elementary and our middle school has a completely separate menu, but we needed to bring back some fun. We needed to bring back some modern food, some up-to-date things that kids are seeing in restaurants. I remember in my interview, actually, you and I had talked about chicken and waffles. Yeah. And I will never forget your face when I mentioned serving chicken and waffles. It was like, kid at a candy store. You were just like, chicken and waffles.
Yeah, absolutely. Remember that audience, chicken and waffles.
Chicken and waffles. Okay. And lo and behold, it is one of our highest selling meals at the moment. Things like orange chicken is huge. I mean, how many of us go to Panda and just want, orange chicken? So just meals that you see advertised on TV. Things like we can make healthy for our kids in schools that kids want to eat. So those little changes are what breakfast for lunch is huge. Yes. I mean, breakfast for lunch right now, the kids love it. Mm-hmm. So that's one of our highest selling things as well. Okay. So just making the menus not the same boring things that you've seen over the years. That's all it takes.
Absolutely. And that's awesome. And I can remember that interview like it was yesterday and when we said chicken and waffles, and I took off from there. So thank you for that. Some of the procedural changes, that you've kind of tweaked to make everything run a little smoother. Can you talk about that a little bit?
I know one of the things is we always touch about lunch lines and that. We had to make a lot of staffing changes. We've gone through staffing shortages, which is one of the reasons that we have longer lunch lines. If we don't have the people, we have longer lunch lines, and we all hate it as much as everybody else. But we had to keep some happy people. So as Jen was talking about, we need, happy staff members. We've changed things from, the outfits that my people are allowed to wear. We want to bring fun back. Yeah. We want to have fun T-shirts that the kids can, when they see us, they're excited. They can tell we're happy. One of the things I met with a nutrition class here at the high school, and one of the suggestions from one of your students was that they wanted to see my staff wear name tags. Okay. Because they said, I see this lady every single day for the past 4 years, and I don't know what her name is. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you know what, that's really cool. Yeah. So I went and bought them all name tags. Okay. So my high school staff has name tags now. And just simple things like that, because this young lady wanted to use my staff member's name. Mm-hmm. So just little things like that.
So now I'm going to put you on the spot. How receptive was your staff to that?
They loved it because I allowed them to choose what it said.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I didn't make them say Mrs. Carollo or Jen or whatever. That's awesome. It was what they wanted it to say. So if they had a nickname, if they wanted to go, one of them was Sam I Am, or, like if it was a goofy nickname, they could use that instead of a Mrs. or a Mr. But if they wanted to, if they were uncomfortable, with a student calling them Jamie, right, it could be whatever they wanted it to be.
Right. And what I like about that is it's small, but it has a huge impact on the culture.
Absolutely.
Right? When you have that buy-in and that support and things of that nature, and then for staff, you're able to choose those fun things to
Absolutely.
do. And so I like that. And two, a bit of information for you as well. One of the first things I did when I became soup, and we went through negotiations was because teachers were not always allowed to wear jeans every day. And I said, yeah, you can wear jeans.
Yeah,
So,
and I'm telling you,
so
and
it's just that. Yeah.
It's so goofy to many of us because we don't think about that.
Right.
But when I was manager, I was like, we work in a kitchen, we deal with bleach water all the time,
Right.
and we have to wear black slacks.
Right.
And we would actually spend time with Sharpie markers going around and
didn't
helping
know
each
that.
other. Oh yeah,
Wow.
we would Sharpie each other's pants.
Okay.
And I'm just like, let's bring out the jeans. We have to, it's hot.
Right.
We get messy. I mean, I spilled mashed potatoes all over my clothes one time at the middle school. I had mashed potatoes in my shoes. I mean, why do we have nice, black dress pants? Let's get.
Yeah.
So it's and they're appreciative. My staff was like, it makes sense.
Yeah. Absolutely.
A happy staff makes everything better. So.
I love it. So talk to me about this, or at least share with the audience too, because a lot of people, when they just think of school lunches, they just think of the food, right? They don't know the behind the scenes that it takes for the training and things like that. So can you talk about that a little bit of what type of training goes on behind the scenes for you or Jen or your,
Sure.
I mean, just how does that work?
So I'll talk about staff first. My staff actually do have to go through, they have to meet a certain requirement of what we call continuing education credits through the USDA. So much like teachers have continuing education credits, a lot of other professionals have continuing education credits. These are usually hour, sometimes half an hour courses or whatever that my staff have to complete on a yearly basis. I actually have started doing my own videos for my staff. That way it's a little bit more tailored toward them, because in the past it's been kind of like a blanketed course where like you just talk about food safety and stuff like that. Well, I've been doing my own. So in my office, if my door is ever closed, it's usually because I'm doing my own video. So I'm recording my own video talking about, how we expect them to do food safety. We go over food allergies. We go over how to be, using effective communication. So my staff do have to have training on top of just serving food. They do things from, like I said, communication, team building. We do food safety, food allergens, all that kind of stuff. So they actually have to have up to, depending on their hours, it's like six hours of that a year. So myself, I have to do up to 12, which currently I have like 30, but I also am school nutrition specialist certified. So I think I'm one of 30 in the state of Illinois. So there's not too many. That's just, thank you. So there is a lot more to it than just serving the food. I know a lot of people don't even know that, but there is a lot more to it, and it's a lot of training and learning, and it's a lot, but we love it. That's why we do it.
Absolutely. So similar question that I asked Jen earlier. So if you could say something, to the audience just about school lunches and the importance of it, what would you say?
Please come and eat with us. Like, give us a chance. Know that we would love to give you what you want. Trust me. If I'd love to give you a steak. I'd love to give you whatever you want. I'd love to give you all the pizza in the world.
Right.
We have to follow rules, but I want to hear from you. Okay, as Jen mentioned, I really do. I'm the one that puts out the emails that you guys get in the morning. I know the high school and the middle school get emails. I do want to hear from you, hopefully nicely, but I do want to hear if something's not working, if you don't like something, if you love something, if you want to see something. Somebody said they wanted to see wings, so we tried boneless wings first, because me personally, I personally don't like meat on the bone, so I'm like, let's try without the bone first. And then we tried a chicken leg on the bone. So some kids were a little weirded out by that. So I do want to hear from you. So just know that we do listen. And if it's something that we can do, we will try. So like Jen said, speak up. We want to hear, whether it's you tell your cashier, whether it's you tell your lunch lady, your server, let us know. We want to know. We want to hear it.
Perfect. So here's where I have a little fun with you now.
Okay.
So our culinary program is just outstanding.
I've heard, yes.
I mean,
Yes.
they do a really good job. And so what I would like to see, and not even on a big scale, but some type of crossover, maybe one day where you guys can collab, on something, for that day. I don't know what it would be, but just something where we can have that collaboration where our kids can actually see their stuff being like just and I know we got rules and things like that we have to look at, but I would love to see some type of collab.
Well, there's not that many rules. We couldn't touch that. We could do that.
So
Whether they're cooking the food and serving it,
right,
or they're making the menu.
Okay.
We could do that.
Okay.
We'll figure that out.
I'm putting you on the spot there. So
we'll figure that out.
Okay. And then the last thing I'm gonna put you on the spot with is, who's your favorite person in the district?
I've been sitting there since you asked Jen that. I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm going to think of something.
Now remember, your daughter's here too.
I know. No.
Oh, no.
No, there's none of that. There's none of that. And then I was going to be funny and I was going to say Josh Arand, right?
Okay.
Because he's the one that pays all the bills.
But I think is that the first time I've heard Josh's name?
Because that was where I was going to go with this, because I'm like, Josh pays the bills.
Right,
so Josh is who's going to,
Still shout out to Josh, though,
yeah,
even though that's not going to be your favorite
where
person.
I'm going, and then I'm like, well, I'm going to say you because, I gotta, and then I'm going to say me, and then I'm like, no, you know who I'm going to go with?
Okay.
I'm going to go with Teresa Parlapiano.
Oh, yeah.
She is and now I know I shouldn't pick a staff member because I'm playing favorites.
Great choice. That's a great choice.
But she is the manager of the high school kitchen. And this woman, she recently has been through a lot of things, but she is just a force to be reckoned with. This woman has run this kitchen in this school she does catering events. She will do anything for anybody. And high schoolers, I'm telling you, if you have a suggestion for something in your kitchen, this woman will make it happen.
I can attest to that.
I will have to say, all my other staff members, if you're watching, I love you all. You know that. But Teresa, I have to say, next Josh, of course.
Right. Yeah.
Josh,
Josh,
right here.
Yeah, I get it.
That would be my list.
Josh has been on the podcast, but I don't think anybody ever called him out.
He's the one that pays the bills.
Yeah.
Dr. Yarbrough. We have to kind of put him on there.
I know. So
he's the money
that's
man.
good. So I'll make sure that he watches this.
I was going to say, yeah, please do. Please do.
Well, thank you for being on.
Thank you.
I will say that, too, I wanted to say, because both you and Jen, we're on today, and I've been trying to get you on for a little while now, and we had to do some rescheduling because I wanted to have you on last week. But I love the way that you two work together.
Thank you.
And you support each other, and I think that goes a long way with the way that your staff is responding to you as well. And
Thank you.
I really appreciate that. And so
I am very, very proud of the department right now. I think that we have come a long way, and we have a lot more planned. I can't wait for next year. We're wrapping up this year, and we're doing a great job. Numbers are skyrocketing, so I can't wait to do another menu next year full of better stuff. So.
And since this is the best district in the area, you're going to stay, right?
Absolutely. I'm not going anywhere. I'm here now. No, my butt is planted. We're staying. We're here. We're good.
Now it's on tape, so I did that deliberately. So
there's evidence.
There's evidence. So again, I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, everyone. So thank you again for tuning in to another episode of Talk 122 with our Superintendent, Dr. Terrell Yarbrough. Like we always say, I am Harlem, you're Harlem, we are Harlem. Take care.